It's April of my sophomore year in high school. I'm around 16 years old by this point, and all year so far I've been struggling with something that wasn't super uncommon to be struggling with at this particular age. And that struggle had to do with my appearance at the time. I had acne, my hair was chopped, I had these long sideburns, I didn't dress very well, and I looked more on the underdeveloped side, at least in my opinion. I could hardly ever get a girl to look my way at school. I was very insecure, and I lacked overall confidence and self-esteem around other people. Certain people at school would pretty much make fun of my appearance on the daily basis, and that only added on to how shit I felt about that part of myself at the time. Comparing that year to the year prior, it was pretty clear that I'd made some visible progress in terms of this, but I was still unable to attract girls or feel a heightened level of confidence within myself. Fast forward to the summer of that year, and it was pretty clear that I was making progress in terms of fixing up my appearance a little bit. By this point, I'd leaned down quite a bit. I was drinking more water, fixing up my diet, which in turn made my hair and skin look better. And I'd started practicing holding my tongue posture on the roof of my mouth in order to grow my jawline more. I remember just coming back to school after that summer and people treating me 10 times better compared to before, especially the girls. One time I was over by the bathroom where the bubbler was, filling up my water bottle, and this girl's friend comes up to me and tells me that her friend told me to give her her snap. I saw the girl, wasn't the most into her, so we didn't really talk much after that point, but I think this scenario really sticks out in my mind for, I think it's safe to say, obvious reasons. Now here's the story I'm sure plenty of you have heard by this point, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I got to a point during that time period where I got too lean. I sort of had an unhealthy obsession with trying to lean down. So I ended up falling into a binge eating pattern that caused me to gain around 25 pounds in a month. And just like that, all the attention I was getting from these girls, all the validation I was getting from my peers, pretty much vanished in what felt like the blink of an eye. Obviously, because I was binge eating, my diet went to complete shit. Around this time, I also fell off of 2.5 months of semen retention, which made me even less attractive. And it just felt like my life had completely changed. I started getting made fun of for my appearance again. I looked the worst I ever had by that point because of the bloating, acne, and the messy hair. And I could just tell that people around me were wondering what the hell had happened. Around this time, I started trying to style my hair and dress a little better in order to sort of compensate, but that only came off as more so flirtatious. Here's where the problems really started to arise. By this point, I'd cleaned up my diet fairly well. I'd lost a lot of the bloat and the acne and all that shit by this point. But I started to steer my focus more towards the obsession with trying to better my appearance side of things rather than the self-improvement side. I've seen some progress from the things I've been doing, you know, the mewing, cleaning up my diet, drinking more water, all that sort of stuff. So I start taking tons of selfies almost every single day, trying to look as good as I possibly can. And I know this is not only pretty stupid and other things that I'm not gonna say on here, but it was also a huge waste of time for myself. Little did I realize at the time that through taking all these selfies, obsessing over my appearance, and comparing myself to other people, I was slowly but surely worsening and worsening my mental health over time. I started to see every little flaw about my appearance, every area I lacked in. And as a result of that, I was never happy or satisfied with where I was at appearance-wise. The only physical thing I was personally doing at the time was running, because I was on a team for it at the school. And so I kind of allowed my physique to go from very fit and well-rounded to more so skinny fat. Around this time, there were also a lot of sort of difficulties going on in my personal life. So that definitely contributed to the downfall of my mental health. But I would definitely say it was more so about me having my focus in all the wrong places and not taking care of myself the best that I could have. Eventually, I started to make some progress on myself again, started working out, working a job on top of doing school and my sport, but that didn't end my ongoing obsession regarding my appearance at the time. I was still wasting so much time during the day, taking photos and videos, comparing myself, and still never feeling like it was ever enough. I almost developed this sort of distorted perception of myself. Like, I still didn't think I looked very good still. I still saw into all the flaws I had that other people didn't. And so I continued going on, not knowing the potential consequences that would come from it eventually. While I was doing this all, however, I was experiencing a very small, if any, increase in other females showing more physical attraction towards me. And that made me feel sort of discouraged at the time. I carried on placing too much value on my appearance after high school ended, but by this point I had stopped running altogether and was mostly focused on building up my physique. I was working a pretty physically laborious job by this point and felt sick a lot, so I started to eat more in order to keep myself at bay. And that's when things began to fall off. I eventually left that job, stopped working out altogether, stopped taking as much care of my appearance, and as a result of those things, I not only fell off in terms of physique, but more importantly, overall physical appearance. At this point, I was depressed, lost, and miserable with the way things were. I came to the realization through all this that looks maxing or trying to upgrade my physical appearance as much as I could was not going to give me the life or fulfillment that I truly wanted. Being somewhat attractive had hardly changed anything in my overall life. Girls were still not that attracted to me. I ended up in the end going far more downhill than I ever would have wanted to. And now I was less attractive, so it didn't really even matter anymore. From this point moving forward, I started to focus on self-improvement again much more heavily. I started working out, started doing YouTube. I stopped caring as much about the way I looked by shaving my head and going on my first bulk. I started to become the person that I really desired to be, truly. The person who didn't give a flying fuck about what anyone else said or thought and stuck out his own grind. Through doing this, I developed the highest level of self-esteem and confidence that I'd ever gotten myself to up to that point. And I really stopped caring about anyone else's opinions in any shape or form. Now, around 2 or so months ago, I decided that I was done shaving my head for the time being after having it bald for around 5 months up to that point. I would therefore allow my hair to grow out for a little while, but as it grew out some more, I began to sort of fall back into that negative cycle of obsessing over my appearance again and wasting time. The other day I made the compulsive decision to shave my beard off again after 3 months of having it. Fuck around and find out, am I right? But as a result of that, I looked fairly chopped compared to beforehand. And so I wasted 2 hours of that night trying to find ways that my hair would look alright with this new look. My anxiety was through the roof. My mental health was pretty terrible that day, just in general, which I explained in a past video. And I just felt that same old feeling of never really feeling good enough resurface inside of me again. And that's why I guess you could say I'm sort of making this video right now. It's to show that falling back into your old ways or reverting back to the same patterns after you've been doing a lot of self-work and you've gone through a whole process like that can sort of give you new perspective on how these things may have been harmful in the past. Lately, over this past week or so, I felt very unmotivated and depressed. I fell off a lot of my old routines. I admittedly haven't been very productive, and I've been too results focused. All this has contributed to depression and reversion, and that has contributed, I believe, to my obsession and lack of confidence in my appearance again from compulsively shaving in order to feel something. But like I said, I only feel those same old feelings that I thought I fended off resurfacing inside of me again. But I've been through a process of detachment for a while now, a period of realizing what is actually going to help me most in life. And that is giving me new perspective when it comes to my past obsession regarding physical appearance. In conclusion, guys, if you feel like you're too hung up on something about yourself or your appearance that you feel is at least somewhat unhealthy for you, then you need to go through a period of detachment in order to eventually fully heal from it. If you find you're too obsessed with how many people like you, put yourself through a period of positive isolation for a while. If you feel like you're too obsessed with the way you look or dress, go through a period of detachment from that materialism in order to find your inner strength. Through doing this, you will be able to come out the other side with a new perspective. And with that new perspective, you will be able to break that unhealthy cycle for good. I hope this message helped you today, my friend. Keep putting in that work towards becoming at least 1% better each and every day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay grounded, my G.